All right, welcome back to the Run.down post-game show here on the Strickland YouTube channel. And if you are listening to this after the day after, it's the Strickland Podcast Network. Knicks win in difficult fashion once again. 112, 108. I mean, no matter what, the Knicks, they're going to make sure that you're watching till the very last minute. That's one thing for sure. I mean, Knicks, I'll start here. The fourth quarter, they came out with all the right energy. I mean, IQ was on one, just scoring at will, easily getting a bunch of and ones. Knicks were getting out in transition. Things were flowing. It looked like the Knicks were gonna have a fun win where like they kind of cruise to at least like a double digit win. Here comes Kristaps Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma, and there's the game. I mean, they scored 32 in that last quarter. Um, and we end up getting by 112, 108. I mean, the miscues and the mistakes and the bad luck of this team at the end of games is just remarkable to say the least. I'll say that. But I mean, hey, we win. We are.
I'd just like to say one thing there because, like, as me and you are both so process over results people,
Mhm.
there is a lot of luck factor to all these threes that get hit at the end of the game. But I do think it's important to note that the Knicks put themselves in positions to get unlucky some of the time. Like it's not like they're executing perfectly and then, oh God, like these Hail Marys are going in. Like, yes, we do see Hail Marys go in sometimes, but the Knicks are not executing close to optimally down the stretch of these games, and they're putting themselves in position to get unlucky.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, I think we can start with Jalen Brunson. Once again, another 30-point game, 34, 8, and 8. I mean, he's really, making a case for that all-star bid. I mean, he picked it up right at the perfect time. The 3-point shooting's been, pretty consistent as of late too. Um, he's also he's averaged about like what 33 points per game in since the new year started, basically. So, I mean, he's been ridiculous. I mean, his last 6 games are 34 and 8, 8 and 8, 34, 3 and 4, 44, 7 and 4, 26, 5 and 8, 38, 7 and 6, 24, 4 and 6. I mean, if that's not an all-star, I don't know what is. But yeah, he's making a pretty strong case for it right now. And yeah, I mean, what more can you say? I mean, definitely surpassing surpassing the contract right now.
Oh yeah. And I
And
mean,
yeah,
what would you say? Like, at least 3 of our 4 best players are like crushing their contracts. Mitch, Brunson, and Randall are outperforming their contracts hugely. And like, this isn't RJ shade, but like, there's nothing that we've seen from RJ this year that you'd be like, oh yeah, that contract's dead in the water. Like, he's been up and down. But the point is that we have a bunch of good money on the books. To your point about Brunson, like, like the Knicks are just blowing these contracts out of the water.
for sure. Yeah, so I mean, Jalen Brunson, he got things rolling in like the second and third quarters. They were really his quarters where he really put his mark on the game. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's been dominant. He's been, he's been what you want from a point guard that you expect to be your all-star point guard, your leader on the court. Like, he's doing it all. So
Yeah, he I mean, definitely an all-star. You still want him to run the offense a bit more. Like, I know it's nitpicky, but when you're as good as he is, it's okay to be nitpicky. And I mean, I started keeping track because I'm psychotic. Neither Grimes or RJ touched the basketball for the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. Like, not like had a play run for them, not shot the ball. I'm saying the ball literally did not hit their hands on the offensive side of the court. and Mitch, it only touched his hands because he got an offensive rebound. Like, I get it. I get that Brunson and Randall are the team's two best players, but you don't see, the Warriors out there just running. Like, even when they had Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, they weren't just out there running Steph KD pick and rolls. It was, they knew the best way to win a basketball game was to be more democratic and to run team offense. And yeah, we might be giving ourselves a slightly better chance of winning a game in January, but this team's ceiling will raise if everybody is locked in and everybody is at their best going forward. And the way to get everybody at their best is to get everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm 1000% with you there. Um, Definitely getting guys involved just like prepares them even for like stuff like prepares them for playoffs. I mean, like this team, the way they're projected, it looks like they're probably going to be a playoff team. If guys aren't used to, getting some type of rhythm in game when it comes playoff time and they're like needed to like be a release valve for guys like Brunson and Randall when they're getting doubled, are they going to be as prepared as we want them to be because they didn't get the reps that, the reps and the rhythm in game that they should have. Um but yeah, it's all stuff to think about.
And the funny thing is I think that's why Tibbs has been leaning on Quickly more, because I
Mm,
think that he trusts Quickly more than RJ and more than Grimes. Like, to go a few minutes without touching the ball and to stay ready. I think that's a big part of his trusting Quickly. Like, he has all the reason in the world to trust Quickly. And like tonight was maybe the best Tibbs game of the entire season that I was thinking about it. Like, so many things that you still don't love the offense down the stretch. You still don't love like the wild minutes. But like we were talking about it before we hopped on, like Brunson playing 40 minutes is kind of defensible tonight because Deuce just doesn't have it. And like Tibbs, we can ask Tibbs to, change some small things, but you can't ask him to change his DNA. He's going to go out there and he's going to try to win this game. And he just didn't think Deuce gave him a chance of winning this game. And he played Brunson the first 12 minutes of the third, played him the first few minutes of the fourth, and then got a comfortable lead and was like, okay, we'll try to get Deuce back out there. We'll try to see how that goes. And then bam, 5 points given up immediately. And like, it's unreasonable to ask Tibbs to just sit on his hands and be like, I'm going to not care about winning this game because Brunson needs to play 38 minutes instead of 40. That's crazy. But as far as good things Tibbs did, in the first quarter, he staggered the threesome of Grimes, RJ, and Quickly. He brought Quickly in for Grimes. And then when it was time for Grimes to come back in, he brought him in for RJ. And at the end of the first half, you had Quickly played 16 minutes, Grimes played 16 minutes, and RJ played 16 minutes. I'm pretty sure it was almost exactly even. Now, the optimal endpoint is for Quickly to play 16 minutes and a half without it being 16 consecutive minutes. That is the optimal endpoint. And I'm not sure if Quickly playing two 16-minute shifts every night for the rest of the season is sustainable, but it's a start. It is a start to get a bench guy 30 plus minutes in a natural way. I really think this was the best Tibbs game from a rotation standpoint that I can remember. He let Obi stay out there a little bit longer, even when that lineup was struggling. What did Obi end with? Like 14 minutes, 12 minutes?
12
12 minutes.
minutes.
That number could easily be higher if he just flip flopped Obi and if he just flip flopped his shift with Hartenstein's. It's not hard. Obi and Randall would be a viable front court, especially when the opposing center is a stretch five like Porzingis. There's ways to go, but nothing Tibbs did tonight bothered me, and I hope we can at least have a night of peace from that side of the conversation. And we just talk about basketball.
Yeah, I didn't have that much of a problem with him, at least right now. Um Quickly, let's talk about Quickly. I mean, to have a point guard tandem of, Brunson and Quickly, it's really special for us. Knicks fans have been long awaiting the days of having good consistent point guard play, and here we are with at least, I would say, looks like 48 minutes of good point guard play between Jalen Brunson and Emmanuel quickly. I mean, Emmanuel quickly really made his mark in that the beginning of that fourth quarter, where he was just he just opened up the lead for the Knicks, and he was the reason why they were up so much to even begin that fourth quarter. I mean, he had the two and ones. He was getting to the paint at will, honestly. And he was taking advantage of transition opportunities, and it's all things that we love to see as Knicks fans, our team do. And we love to see Emmanuel quickly do it. Um, but yeah, he had a great game, as usual on both ends, I think. And yeah,
Yeah, I would argue, or not argue, because you're right that the stretch to start the fourth was great. I would throw in that stretch to open his game when he came in, because that start to the game was so sluggish on both ends.
yeah,
And this is another point in Tibbs' favor, in my opinion, because Unseld made a really good move, in my opinion. The game started out really sluggish, and Unseld put in Rui Hachimura and Danny Avdia, and he pulled Kuzma and he pulled Gafford. Now, this may have just seemed like a simple substitution, but what it did is it moved KP to the five. So he wasn't just making a sub, he was adjusting to the information in front of him and changing their scheme, which as Knicks fans is probably just a foreign concept. Like, we never see that. They immediately go on a 5-0 run that KP spearheads, and Tibbs immediately counters with quickly. And no, Tibbs isn't changing the outlook of the game, or excuse me, he's not changing the scheme, but he is adjusting to information and making a change based on it. And quickly came to the game, and the Knicks go on a 12-0 run immediately. Quickly gets that rebound, pushes the pace, sees Randall in transition, boom, layup. Quickly hits a three, boom. He's just, I mean, what else is there to say about this guy? He's just so good on both ends of the court. Like, I know his shot is inconsistent, but and Grimes is a little bit the same, by the way. Grimes is 2 for 10 tonight, but like, can you think of a single thing? I mean, besides maybe passing up a shot that Grimes did that killed you? He's always moving. He's always in the right spots. Like, this is why the lineup data always likes these guys, because even on the nights when they don't have it, if you're dependent on absolute output to contribute to your team, you're not a good basketball player. That is like what I'm realizing about basketball, because nobody has it for 82 games. You have to have the things that you can control night in and night out. You have to have energy. You have to have high IQ, connectivity, good defense. These things, there's no variance to those things. You can throw those things out there night in, night out if you want to, if you're good at it. And Quickly and Grimes are guys who 82 games of the season are going to give you those things. So the floor is so high when they're on the court, because even when shots aren't falling, even when you get a dumb turnover or two, you still get the overall winning basketball that these two provide. And yeah, it's really nice on nights like tonight when Quickly gets some silly shots to fall, a couple and ones that maybe don't fall on other nights. So his stat line looks a little bit better. But I promise you, from a process standpoint and from an overall what he brings to the game standpoint, this game really wasn't that much different than some of his bad games. He's just always bringing this kind of stuff. And that's why he's such a good player. And that's why me and you have loved him for, pretty much since he first put on a Knick uniform.
for sure. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Um, Also, I'm like dying, so I'll try to keep my words to a minimum.
Don't worry,
Um,
I'm pretty talkative, so I'm sure people are sick of me going on and on already. So,
but yeah, I mean, the other parts of this game, I guess we can talk about before we get into comments are the other three starters, or the other four starters, because we only talk about Brunson as a starter, but Grimes, he was, as you said, he was 2 for 10. um he's always active, so that's something that like you said, even when he's not even when the shots aren't falling, as you grouped him and quickly, Grimes is the same way. I mean, defensively he's still bringing you stuff. And he's still Grimes is always still attacking the rim as well, so you know, there's always that. Mitch had a rough game today. The foul trouble. I don't know what it is. What really was it today that like really got him in trouble with the fouls? I mean, that last one of those last fouls that he got where like Porzingis was like doing all these fakes and Mitch kind of stood there. That was a bad call, I think, in my opinion. That was like the one time where Mitch actually played some good defense and actually, let me not say the one time he played some good defense because he had some crazy blocks in the first half. I'll say that.
That one recovery was so nasty. That was just, man, he's so. I mean, I won't lump Mitch in the quickly Grimes thing because he's a little bit more inconsistent with his process. And we saw it tonight. I mean, he's always going to struggle with like a guy like Porzingis at the 5. Um, that's just always going to be an issue for him because Tibbs has basically instilled in him that like you're our defensive anchor. If we're losing at the point of attack, you have to save us. And so like we can kind of try to mitigate that. And you see us when we do it well, we have the guys on the outside. They sort of hedge to prevent the center who's pick and popping from just catch and shooting cleanly. But still, Mitch ends up in no man's land a lot, and I think that's just hard for him. But he still, like you said, he had a couple blocks. And how many offensive rebounds he had? It felt like a lot. Yeah, he had 5 offensive rebounds and 3 blocks. Like, yeah, he was in foul trouble, and I mean his minutes weren't just the super positive they've been all season. But 5 offensive rebounds and 3 blocks. I don't know. I'm not going to kill him for that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't felt that much today because we're not playing. Like Porzingis was absolutely ass until he started like lighting it up in the fourth quarter. So it really didn't hurt us that much that Mitch was in foul trouble. Also, it helped that Hartenstein wasn't completely ass on defense today. So that helped as well. He had a couple good defensive possessions today. He still can't make a layup. I don't know what's up with that, but
Yeah,
I won't talk about Hartenstein that much because he's not really worth talking about that much.
he had a fine game. He's
Yeah, he
just
had an okay game.
he just is what he is at this point. Like he's gonna get killed. He's gonna kill you on the offensive glass. I would love to go back and look. The Wizards had 12 offensive rebounds. I would bet at least 8 of them came with Hardenstein on the court. Like he just isn't good at that. I don't, for lack of a better word, he's just not good at protecting the defensive glass or the rim, which is the weirdest part about the whole thing. Like you can't claim to care about that and then just keep going to Hardenstein because he looks the part. He's not the part. They're getting to the rim at will, and they're getting offensive rebounds at will when he's on the court. In fact, I'll look it up, but I mean, we're just so bad at defensive rebounding when he's on the court. It's just if you're going to keep playing Hardenstein, then you have to flip his rotation with Obi to at least try to unlock the best version of Obi that we saw at the start of the season, the end of last season. And if you're dead set on the center, the true center who can protect the rim and rebound, then you just go to Sims. Like you have to go to Sims at some point because, yeah, Sims isn't perfect, but he's closer to Mitch than Hardenstein is. I mean, and if that's all you're looking for, just go to Sims.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's trying to shoehorn. He's trying to fit a round piece. No, he's trying to fit a square piece in a round. He's trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
With Hartenstein, trying to make him be like Nerlens Noel, like / Mitchell Robinson esque, and it's just that's not who he is. But also, like, I mean, like Hartenstein is who he is. You're not gonna change him, and Hartenstein looks like he's trying his best to adjust to the new
And
role
like
that he's in.
that's such a good point too. Like because you almost feel bad for the guy. Like because you saw it tonight, you saw how into it he gets. Like, and I know they're NBA players and they're getting paid a lot. Like, woohoo, he cares. But like, he's not just like caring because he's getting paid. You can tell he wants to be good for this team, and like, he just the truth of the matter is that Tibbs isn't going to let him do what made him excel for the Clippers last season. That's
Oh,
not going to be a thing.
yeah, not at all.
So, I mean, what is his assist percentage is like a fifth of what it was last season or something. It's insane. Like I think it was like 25% last season if I had to guess. I think his assist percentage for the Clippers last year was 25% when he was on when he was on the Clippers last season. I think it's 5% this season.
Yeah, I
That's
think I
ridiculous.
saw that as like 5.1%.
Yep, 5.3% this season. 20%. So a quarter of what it was last season. That's not like regression. That's not a player getting worse. That's just you're just a totally different player. And then his true shooting percentage, the last season it was 66%. Okay, maybe that was a bit of a myriad, but this season it's 53%, worst of any Nick in the rotation.
Wow.
I mean, what, is he taking worse shots? I mean, no. He's just not getting the good looks he was last season because his role is totally different. And this is by no means a defense of Hartenstein. This is not me saying like, oh, poor Hartenstein, because he is an NBA player who's being asked to do stuff that's not that hard. Or excuse me, it is hard, but he should be able to do it. He should be able to box out. He should be able to get rebounds. He should be able to protect the rim. Like
You
that's
should be able
like
to make a layup.
he should be able to make a layup. Like yeah, exactly. And he's not doing those things. So per usual with most things, it's somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah. Um, as we said before, we thought Randall, he had a pretty okay game today. I mean, he had that, you know, foul on the 3-pointer that, a lot of people are gonna remember. And, especially if we had lost that game, that would have been a really hard sticking point. Thankfully we were able to, win it. I mean, he also missed that free throw that would have also been like really killer if we lost the game. Thankfully we didn't lose. He had 23 and 16 on 8 of 19 from the field. Hit a big three down the stretch. He also had a block down the stretch as well.
I want to say about that block. I meant to tweet something about it, but I didn't. Go back and watch that block. Anyone who's listening, that was an unbelievable effort from Randall, and like maybe a play he doesn't make last season because he doesn't even bother getting back on defense. That was Quickly though. Like Quickly baited Wright into. So first of all, if you watch Quickly when Wright is around the 3-point line, Quickly takes a step forward and then takes a step back, just baiting him into making the wrong decision. So Wright gets a little bit more methodical. He slows down and then Quickly slides with him, slows him down even more, doesn't foul. And all of this allowed Randall to recover. Those couple of seconds that Quickly saved before the layup was about to be made were everything on that play. That's just another example of what a winning player he is. He's an amazing player. And yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought that was important to point out about that play. Great play by Randall, but very, very great play by Quickly to keep him from scoring immediately.
Yeah. So I mean, despite Randall not having the most eye-popping game, I mean he's still killing it on the boards.
And he's doing, Sam, what me and you bitched about him not doing last year. I would argue that many more of his rebounds this year are contested. He's still not boxing out the way you'd like to see him, but he's battling in there.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely is. RJ, this game was a little, meh for RJ. Offensively, he was all right, 17 points, 7 for 13 from the field. Didn't seem like he was really forcing anything. Defensively is where, his game was really bad, I would say.
That was the worst defensive game of the season for RJ. And I'm including the games when he was like sick and stuff. That was horrible. It was everything we asked him to do, he couldn't do. Pick something. Just pick anything. We put him on Kuzma. Kuzma burned him every single time. We put him on Kispert. He got lost off the ball every single time we put him on Kispert. If you ask him to get over a screen, he died over every single screen. If you asked him to close out and contest, he closed out with his hand down. If he's in transition, he's just standing there with his arms by his side, letting people skate by him. There was 20 plus defensive possessions where he just like almost mailed it in. It was. I'm not out on RJ at all. Like I love RJ. But it's games like this that really scare you because he's not going to be James Harden. I'm sorry, guys. He's not going to be James Harden like that. I can say that with utter confidence that he's not going to be that level of offensive player. For RJ to be what we want him to be, he doesn't have to be an elite defender, but he has to compete every night. He can't be Harden on defense and then be like, even if he amps up his offense a little bit, he can't be Harden on defense with like slightly like above average to good offense. He has to be, if he's gonna, settle into a good to great offensive player, he has to be an average to above average defender. And tonight was not close to that.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into comments, it is almost it's time for everyone's favorite part of these shows. Everyone's part that they just, skip through during the
Sam, I had a same game parlay tonight that came down to RJ scoring 20 plus, hit every other leg. RJ couldn't put the ball in the basket.
wow. Yeah, I had him for 20 in a parlay too. It's those rough beats.
And like as you know, last night was
Oh yeah.
as bad as it gets. So
Yeah, I know how it goes. I gotta check my slips and see which ones I lost by one leg today once again. NFL playoff picture is locked in, and my go-to place for wild card round action is DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off the road to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get 200 in free bets instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat bet each day of the wild card round this weekend. Just place any NFL bet of your choice, and if it loses, you'll get a free bet back up to $10. Action so good, why bet NFL playoffs anywhere else? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TBPN. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL and get 200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TBPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes or show description for details. All right. Time to get some comments. All right. This is a good one. This kind of addresses what you were saying earlier. Jeff, do you want to read that one while I cough?
Brian Benjamin said, "Is Obi the only person who moves out the ball? I'm watching Jalen Brunson dribble around, going nowhere in the second quarter, and everyone is just watching." Good comment, Brian, because we definitely have the most stagnant offense in the league, and it's not close. I would put Quickly and Grimes in there. I think they're elite movers without the basketball, and I think we know that because they're showcasing it in an offense that asks them to stand and be pretty stagnant for the most part. But if there's ever a time to flash into the middle when the paint is open, they always take advantage. If there's ever a time to relocate from the corner to the top of the key or from corner to corner opposite, any small shift or relocation or flash to the middle, these two guys will make it. So I agree with you that our offense is way too stagnant. I think that's what the coach wants it to be. So I'm not sure it's going to change. But I do think that we have a couple more movers off the ball aside from Obi. But I do agree that Obi is a good one. And it's just another example of how he's been misused because coach wants him to stand in the corner. Like that's not what you draft Obi Toppin to do. He's not that player. And like the fact that he has tricked people into thinking that he sort of could be that player is a credit to him and shows how skilled he is. Like the fact that he's worked out a 15-minute a night role as a corner 3-point shooter and like put up good impact stats every season of his career for 2.5 seasons. Maybe if we did the thing that if we schemed to the stuff that he's actually naturally good at, like imagine what he would look like then. And I'm like, this isn't me, going on some trade Randall start Obi rant. This is just like play him 20 minutes a night and run some freaking pick and rolls with him as the screener and like try to do something that's not just read and react with everyone standing around.
Yeah, it's so odd to me that like we have these two great point guards, this great point guard tandem between, JB and IQ, and like we still can't figure out a way to, run some like pick and rolls for Obi to get him like a quick like 4 to 6 points a night. Like what happened to, all those plays we ran? I mean, that first game of last year, it seems like we ran so much more stuff for Obi versus the Celtics, and like even like those games versus the Magic, like all those games that Taj and Nerlens Noel were out for in the beginning of last year. It seems like we ran so much more stuff for Obi, and like now it's like what he can like not get anything done for him. Like, I mean, look at like what he like did Dibs forget like what he did at the end of last season? I know like everyone likes to say like he played against like teams benches, but like he was a key factor in that Miami win. That Toronto game where he dropped 42. I mean, the only key players that were out were Siakam and Fred. Like they had still OG, Scotty Barnes. Like the rest of their whole playoff rotation was still playing. So it's like I don't understand where like these ideas and these thoughts come from with Obi. Like he's able to put up like good numbers versus
and
actual,
just be effective.
yeah. Like the numbers don't lie. I mean, no matter how much, fans want to like ignore his impact or whatever when he's actually being utilized. But like you said, it's a credit to him and how good he is that he's still able to carve out a role, being something that he was totally not coming into the league. I mean, like he was like looked at as like the high flyer, the highlight guy. And he has done his fair share of that in New York, but like he's also been like thrust into this like be Steve Novak now because you had a hot start to the season. Like that's what he's become essentially.
Yeah, two things I have to say because I thought you killed it. So I'm just gonna be quick. One regarding plays. Remember in that Celtics game we ran that double screen and roll where Obi and Randall both screened, and then Randall popped and Obi rolled, and shocker, you made the defense think about two different things. So like, and one opened up, and Obi got that lob over the top. You have to. Defenses are too smart these days. This isn't the 90s. Like I know there's people who are like, "Oh, the 90s is the peak." No, you can't just run one simple action and then the defense is gonna like fall asleep. This is as prepared and as efficient as defense, not to mention athletic and like fast and strong. This is as good as defenses have ever been, and you can't just say, "Oh, well, I run a read and react offense, so we need a single guy to get into the paint and start the scramble," because there's like five guys who can do that in the whole league consistently. So if your offensive scheme is reliant on having one of the five best players in basketball, that's not an offensive scheme. I could do that. I could sit on the sidelines and be like, well, I mean, I know it's not working right now, but if I had LeBron, this would look mighty good. No, like you have to scheme to the players you have. Jalen Brunson and Randall are good players, but we have other good players that require more ball and man movement to thrive. Um, and it's really hurting some of our role players. And we talked about this last game, but this creates a domino effect because these guys struggle in this stagnant system. And then Tibbs says, rightfully, oh shit, well, we're not going to win with these guys on the court. So got to go back to the starters. And it might not hurt us tonight. It might not hurt us Sunday. But eventually, all these minutes, they're going to add up. And I promise you, it's going to have a cascading effect. Whether it's fatigue or an injury, down the line, somebody can,
Playoffs.
yeah, somebody can tag this right now, and I promise you, they'll be able to say, "Oh man, Jeff and Sam were talking about this on January 13th." Like this is part of the problem. Run an offense that allows more than two people to thrive, and I promise you, your problems will start to thin out because I hear people who defend. God, I can't believe I'm talking about Tibbs again. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I hear people who defend Tibbs say, well, he wants to lean on his starters. And you're not going to win that way. Unless you have, Derrick Rose MVP, you're not going to win that way. This team's strength is its depth. This team's strength is its versatility. I promise you, you won't have to lean on it. So you don't build your team for only Brunson and Randall to thrive, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up overtaxing them. You build your team so that the role players can thrive, so that you can trust them in these games, so that Randall and Brunson don't have to play 40 minutes for you to beat a team like the Wizards without Bradley Beal. That is how you have the most long-term success. And I'm sure some people think I sound like an asshole because I've never coached in the NBA, but I feel very strongly about this and confident in it.
I mean, just watch other teams in the league and how they manage this type of stuff.
Exactly.
All right, let's see what other comments we got. Um,
Some drama in the comments tonight. I see some people battling.
yeah, we got a battle between like Severance and Ace Bouchard, and I'll address some parts of it very soon.
I appreciate the passion.
Yeah, on a night where we won, by the way,
Yeah.
not even a loss. Imagine a loss. But R&R says, was watching the game partially, was Kuzma cooking because we didn't have a bigger wing to throw on him? I mean, it seemed like the Knicks threw multiple options at him, but like Kuzma just had it going. Like he was just able to get to the rim a ton. That's usually Kuzma's bread and butter, just get into the basket a bunch. But yeah, we had there was times where RJ was on him. There was possessions where Grimes was on him. There were possessions where Randall was on him. Like they threw a whole bunch of different options at him, and he still was able to do his thing. So kudos to Kuzma.
He didn't cook against Grimes.
Yeah, he did
And
it.
honestly, I would have gone quickly on him in the fourth quarter. I know there's a huge size advantage. I don't care. Quickly, first of all, Quickly's long, and I mean Kuzma's not going to bully him. He's gonna see the size advantage. He's going to try to shoot over him. That's what Kuzma does. And guess what? If Quickly stays in front of Kuzma, doesn't let him get to the basket, and Kuzma hits a bunch of jumpers, and you give up points that way, sometimes you just gotta let him beat you. What RJ was doing was unacceptable. Look, Kuzma's a great player. That's a fine. That's a fair point by you, Sam. But RJ is supposed to be that guy, and if it's not gonna be RJ, just put Randall on him. Like honestly, I if I'm Tibbs at this point, I understand the psychology of Julius Randall, and I get that Randall gets up for this kind of stuff. And if Tibbs just said to Randall, like, dude, Kuzma, who's like some might say in your tier, even though Randall's been better for sure, he's got 35 right now, and he's cooking us, and you're the guy I trust to guard him on an island. I mean, I don't know about you, Sam, but I wouldn't have any doubt in Randall like taking on that assignment and taking it seriously at least.
Um, yeah, I mean, if he's locked in, I don't think that he'll have any issues with Kuzma.
And he locks in for that stuff. That is like you saw it to open the game. He was locked in on Staps. Staps missed his first 5 shots, all with Randall on him, and that's why Unseld went to Staps at the 5. KP didn't really start making shots until he was able to stretch the floor against Mitch, and Mitch was kind of in no man's land. But like if you do the nearest defender shot numbers, every time Randall was on Staps, I mean, I bet his field goal percentage was horrible tonight against Randall. And the other thing is something me and you talk about all the time. Randall is the closest thing, even with Brunson, Randall is the closest thing this team has to a star. He gets away with contact more than any player on this team. They let him play around the rim. Now he had that friggin', I know that sounds dumb because he had that stupid foul on a 3-pointer, but that was like clear contact to the midsection, really obvious. I'm saying like when they're banging around the basket, Randall gets away with more contact than like Quickly or any of the other role players around the hoop. And that's another reason to put Randall on a guy like Kuzma because it keeps him off the line a little bit.
Definitely. All right. Let's see if I can address some of this battle going on.
Sorry, Severin. That's the last of Tibbs, I promise.
So they're arguing about Randall at first, and they talk about Deuce. So he says Deuce is fine where he is. He's learning. Maybe you should worry about Obi and not Deuce. I mean, with Obi's coming back from injury, So like it's gonna take him a while to get back into rhythm, and it's also hard to get into rhythm when you're playing the minutes that he plays. So there's that with Obi. With Deuce, Deuce has been in the rotation for quite some time now. He's been really on and off, a lot of off more than on offensively. Defensively, he does what he can at his size. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Obi. I don't see a reason to be worried about Obi.
Well, I see what he's saying. Like he's basically saying that Deuce, because of his defense, Deuce is going to give you guaranteed. There's a higher baseline of production from Deuce. I think that's what he's trying to say. Um, I worry about Obi not in like a vacuum as a player. I worry about how he's going to provide value to this team in this role because like it's just clear how misused he is. And that's fine. I agree that with Deuce and Obi both mostly playing off the ball, not really initiating any possessions, not really getting any offense that isn't catch and shoot or catch and attack. You could even make the argument that Deuce is like more impactful right now than Obi just because his defense is more impactful. Um, I just think that since Tibbs doesn't really stagger, um, and you know, Deuce plays a lot of his minutes with both Brunson and Randall on the bench, his offense looks worse and it looks more harmful than maybe it would be if he got to share the court with Randall for a few minutes. Um, so and that's gonna stick out to a guy like Tibbs who just he just wants, like I said earlier, he wants to win every game, and that's what makes him great. But I don't know. I tweeted earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if we make a trade for a guard slash wing who can provide a little bit more offensive spark off the bench, even if it's sacrificing in some defense.
I.e., a Gary Trent Jr. or such.
Right.
Um, Severance also says, it's very stupid to blame Thibs. We're top 10 in every category. Um, basically given that whole spiel, looks like Severance is a Thibs believer. I will say I think the Knicks are performing in spite of Thibs, not because of Thibs. You can see down the stretch of games, they're really bad in the margins. When it comes to the margins like that, it really comes down to coaching. Coaching, like coaching gets teams prepared to perform within those margins, so that way they get those tough wins. The Knicks do not get a lot of these tough wins, as we've seen a bunch this year already. So I think that comes down to coaching. So I do think although the Knicks appear very successful and they have the profile of a contender, they are clearly not one, mainly due to, obviously not having, top end star talent. I mean, that's kind of mitigated by the fact that we have like a lot of depth. Um, but like it's like there's mismanagement of the depth, and that comes down on coaching and like, all the late game stuff that's also on coaching as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's in spite of Thibs that they're top 10 in a lot of categories rather than it's because of Thibs.
I'm gonna half agree with you. I don't think the Knicks have like an overwhelming amount of defensive talent. I think they've got Quickly, Grimes, and Mitch. That's like
Mhm.
the defensive talent. That Tibbs is for the third year in a row, you know, top 10 in defense, has the Knicks top 10 in defense. Clearly, there's two things. It's the schemes he draws up every night, which, neither of us know a thing about. And it's his ability to get the maximum effort out of his guys. Like we should never underrate his ability to do that because it's now 3 years in a row, and the Knicks were a top 4 defense last year if you exclude the Kemba minutes. I think maybe even top 2. So I don't think that there's anything preventative about Tibbs's defensive scheme. Is it perfect? No. I mean, his his need to have the weak side defender get 2 feet in the paint, like we saw with Fournier, against the Bucks.
Oof, that was rough.
That's unnecessary sometimes, but whatever. Like, I mean, shit, I couldn't throw together close to a perfect defense. So what the hell am I gonna. He's doing a great job, like on that side of the ball. I would push back a little bit on, not a little bit. I would push back on offense though, because yeah, we're top 10 in offense, but to me that says that the offensive talent should be better, because I would defy anybody to tell me what our offensive scheme even is. It's just read and react. We set a high ball screen 95% of the time down the court, and we ask people to create advantages. They're basically just playing pickup ball out there with a single screen. There aren't plays. We run Spain pick and roll. We don't even run Spain pick and roll anymore.
Barely.
We run the pistol action for RJ, 2 or 3 times a night. But there's really no scheme, offensive scheme. So I mean, I didn't want to talk about this, but the question was asked, so whatever. So yeah, I mean, the Knicks are top 10 in offense, but I would be surprised if any higher up intelligent basketball person would be like, oh, it must be Tibbs' schemes and not the talent. And I would also be surprised if you found someone who said if you incorporated more ball movement, more man movement, more off the ball screens and stuff like that, they wouldn't be better. So I half agree with Severance. I think the defense, Tibbs will always deserve credit for putting together defenses, but I don't think the offense, the top 10 offense, can be just credited to Tibbs. And I think that, like Sam said, he is restrictive in certain ways.
Very much so. Jordan Bub says this team lacks the experience of closeout and killing off their opponents early, and has cost us many games this season. And the last one, but with Brunson in the fold, was there supposed to be another comment after that? I don't know, but yeah, I mean the team does lack experience with closing out games, with handling pressure in those moments. Luckily tonight we were able to once again get away unscathed. That's like 2 straight games that we're like having to like claw away after like building ourselves a pretty substantial lead with time to go. So it is a little bit concerning that and it's not even against like really good teams. It's against like the Pacers, who are like right in our tier, or at least they're in our tier only due to record, but I think our talent outmatches their talent. And with the Wizards, I mean, they're without Bradley Beal, and that's a lot for them. So the fact that we're like having to crawl or claw away from these games, like partially scathed, it's a little bit concerning. So we'll see how they continue to handle it. I mean, we're halfway through the year, so it's like, how much more time could you possibly be waiting to see what happens with this team? But yeah,
I know people want to talk about coaching with that, but tonight it wasn't.
Yeah, tonight was just like, it was
It
like
was
guys just getting hot,
nearly
and
on players. Yeah.
KP getting hot from 3. Kyle Kuzma starting to heat up towards the end of the game. He ended up with like 40 points tonight. It's just it's just a classic case of guys lighting up the Knicks. Simple as that.
Yep. And I thought we got mostly good offensive looks. Quickly missed a wide open corner 3. Grimes missed an open top of the 3 key. Like, I mean, the thing is that, and this is going to sound so hypocritical because I just spent 5 minutes, complaining about it. The read and react offense is going to work more against worse teams, like worse defenses, because they have less capacity to stay in front of a guy like Jalen Brunson. Mm-hmm. And that's why, even with a sort of simplistic offense down the stretch, they're creating fine looks. And you were talking about earlier Randall, and he hit a big 3 and he had that block. I also thought that layup he had over Kuzma, where he probably got fouled, was maybe the biggest shot of the game. That was awesome. Randall is so bizarre, man, because I mean, last year he did none of the intangible things right, and he was all of his stats just felt like almost fake. They didn't feel, and obviously the efficiency was bad. And this year, he's shooting like 33, 34% from three. He's not like lighting it up efficient wise. But this is like the third game in a row where I feel like he just hit the biggest shots of the game. And you know what? Sign me up for that player. Like if you're going to have a guy who gets back on defense, shit, man, there was a play where Rui made a layup in transition where Randall thought he got fouled on offense. And I would love to clip it because you actually see him in real time start to argue with the ref and then realize like, oh shit, I shouldn't be arguing with the ref and like bolt back on defense. And he actually got back in front of Rui and Rui still made a tough layup. And I just started cracking up because I was like, man, he's like this is him like trying to change his DNA because he was so close to just not even bothering and like just yelling at the ref. And I mean, Randall's never going to be a perfect player, but I don't think we can ask much more than him just doing his best at the little things. And tonight was another game. He didn't get in Brunson's way down the stretch. He tried defensively. He fought against Porzingis. He made helpful plays. He fought for rebounds. And when Brunson got blitzed and Randall finally, it was his time to call his own number, he hit what I just said was the biggest shot of the game. So I'm just going to keep saying it because I was as big a critic of Randall as anyone. I made a whole freaking thread about all of his defensive lapses in a single game. Kudos to that guy, man, for rejuvenating himself and for buying into a totally different role. And kudos to Tibbs for recognizing what Randall had to do, how he had to change. Because if you look at Randall's shot diet, that is everything this year. Like I just said, he's only shooting 33, 34% from three. But it's the amount of threes he's taking and the amount of shots he's taking at the rim. That's why his true shooting percentage is close to 60%, because he's not taking as many of those mid-range jumpers anymore. And you can't control the shots going in when you shoot them from 15 feet, but you can control where you shoot the shots from. And Randall is doing a great job of controlling where he shoots the shots from. And that's on Randall for buying into a new role with Jalen Brunson as the lead guard. And that's on Thibodeau for incorporating a game plan into him and giving him an offseason assignment. Like, hey, you've got to improve your shot diet. And he did it. So that's awesome stuff. It's awesome for the Knicks and it's awesome for them individually.
Definitely. Oh, man. All right. JL says Brunson averaging 35 on 53, 48, 89 over his last 5 games. That is like 2013 mellow shit. Yeah, I mean it's been really fun to have a guy, especially at the guard position, to like be able to like just score at will, it seems at this point. Like you see the way the game started, it was very nasty. It's like there's no way Jalen Brunson's hitting the 30-point mark again. And then here you go in the fourth quarter, he hits like this post fadeaway shot, and there was a tweet I saw. I forgot who it was from. If I can pull it up, but they were just like talking about like his footwork and the way he's able to like be so crafty and maneuver himself, and doing all of that at his size is just like so remarkable that you never expected someone of that size and like and someone that doesn't have any athleticism really, or like is not like a freak athlete at that size, to like have the star profile that he's developed into. Here it is from Jonathan Wasserman. So he's Jalen Brunson averaging 33.3 points per game in 2023 defies traditional laws of upside that suggest athleticism fuels star potential. Not sure JB could hop over a deep puddle. Gonna have my kids study Brunson's patience, counters, touch shots, and demeanor.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great scorer, man. And we're such process oriented people. The best thing about Brunson's output and his process is just how sustainable it is. He's not even like, I don't want to say Steph Curry because what Steph Curry does clearly is sustainable, but like he's not shooting these high variance threes all the time. He's shooting shots that he's going to make. His median is very reliable.
Pull-ups
He's not.
in transition, shots off screens, stuff
I'll
like
say it.
that.
He's not quickly. He's not what quickly was 20 games ago. Like we love quickly, but there's a reason that quickly one game would go 4 for 12 and then another game goes 6 for 7. It's because of the types of shots he was taking. He wasn't getting to the rim as much. He wasn't getting to his floater as much. He's shooting a lot of high difficult threes, and those are good shots, but they're also volatile shots. Jalen Brunson is the opposite of that as a scorer. And the Knicks need that. Like, if the Knicks aren't going to be a great shooting team and they're not really going to run much offense, they need a guy who can just get a bucket. That's like as simplistic as that sounds. Brunson is like exactly what they needed, and that's why he's so valuable to this team.
Definitely. And it's just been a lot of fun. I mean, to
Yeah,
have someone, that could just score at will like this. And it's so reliable. Like you trust the ball in their hands at the end of games. Like for Knicks fans, this is huge because like we haven't had someone like this since Melo, really. Like even when Julius was at his best, down the stretch, I was terrified of him having the ball in his hands because I didn't know how he was going to handle the pressure of one, taking the big shot, and two, like handling the defensive pressure of, double teams in that position. With Jalen Brunson, I pretty much trust him to, make the right decision almost every single time. I mean, even when he takes a tough shot, it's like barely rimming out at this point with like late in game stuff.
and with Tibbs going to quickly at the end of games, which like man, he wanted Grimes back in there for defense. He pulled RJ.
Yeah, I
Like
saw that.
I think quickly's just Tibbs' guy, man. Like as crazy as that sounds, because like what we were bitching about all of last season with him refusing to start him, which like everyone should agree was ridiculous. Like I think Tibbs is finally like, man, this guy like he's fought through the pun intended, he's fought through the quicksand and he's still here. He's still like he's basically, first of all, he's basically Tibbs on the court defensively. You ever like have you noticed that Tibbs quickly doesn't shut the hell up on defense? He's always pointing and yelling at people and telling people where to be, and like he's basically a general on the court defensively. Um and now, like in these moments, like you were just saying about Brunson, when they blitz Brunson, we have Randall, to get as the close release valve, but we also have quickly in right there to get the ball, and I think we should trust him and even Grimes, in those spots. I really like that Tibbs went to Grimes when Kuzma started to pick it up late, and I really like that he kept quickly out there because as good as our starting lineup is, and as good as RJ's good, and as good as we want, even better as we want him to be, that Brunson, quickly, Grimes, Randall, Mitch lineup is freaking good too, and so that lineup needs minutes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Um wow, Ace and Severance, you know, they really keep going at it. Let me see. We have comment from Virgil X. Will next coach use Obi and Hart better? This is my argument for not being too down on Hart. Thibs ain't going to be here next season.
Yeah, no,
Things might be
that's not
different
right.
next season.
Tibbs is going to outlast Hardenstein in New York, and I'd bet that's
Yeah, I if I'm a betting man, am I most definitely am a betting man. I'd bet for sure that Hartenstein is gone, like even by the trade deadline. I think, like I think this team they realize that he's not really working here. Like I
yeah.
think
And like he only has a 2-year deal. Does he have a team contract? I forget, or is it just a straight 2-year deal?
I think it's a straight 2 year deal. I could be wrong though.
So whatever. Like, first of all, he's not going to be in the rotation. I shouldn't say not. I'd be very surprised and almost like impressed, like because that means he probably turned it around, or the Knicks are just incredibly stubborn. But regardless, I would be very impressed if he was still in the rotation for the longevity of his contract. And I think that first of all, we'll look to trade him, like you said. But even if we don't trade him, uh, Hardenstein's going to realize that as long as Tibbs is here, they're not going to run the type of offense that suits him or that like he can even contribute in, which is like that's fine. I think we'll part amicably. And but as far as Obi goes, man, I hate to say this, but if you're a Patreon member and you read our articles, you know I don't think Obi's outlasting Tibbs in New York either. I don't know how if he's long for this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the writing seems to be on the wall. Well, not necessarily, but like like a lot of people anticipated once we went on that 8 game win streak that bought Thibs all of this year and probably the beginning of next year. Like he's pretty safe, especially if the team gets into the playoffs, which they probably will. Thibs is going to be safe next year. Um, and the way the team keeps using him, I mean, he was this team's first lottery pick. I mean, this regime's first lottery pick. Um, if they can't utilize him the best way possible here, they're probably gonna look to like see what value they can get for him in the off season. Whether that be, through the draft and trading up or down with him. So, that's where I see things going for him at least. I mean, because like we're not even utilizing him to his strengths. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really a struggle for me. And honestly, it's on. It's not just on the scheme. It's on. Schwinn just posted about it, and I agree with him. It's on quickly, and it's on RJ with that second unit to get Obi more involved. Um, I mean, we both believe in quickly as a distributor and more so as a connector, but they they have to understand that Obi needs to get his feet wet and he needs to get a feel for the game. And it can't just be like, I mean, this is reverting to early, midway through last season when Obi would go, 2, 3 minutes without touching the ball and then catch it in the corner. And I mean, at least he's not hesitant. At least he's not. I mean, at
He's
least I
letting it
mean,
fly.
yeah, he's letting it fly, and he's been cold recently. But like, I said this last season, and like it remains true. It's so funny because when a guy like Obi Toppin, who spent his whole life, his whole basketball life until the NBA, being the primary focus on any basketball court he stepped on, he touched the ball whenever he wanted to. He played major minutes whenever he wanted to. To ask him to go out there and stand in the corner and shoot once every 3 minutes, it's not a shock that his efficiency numbers are volatile. That's not surprising at all. And what do you know? Obi's efficiency numbers the last 15 games of the last season, it wasn't because the competition was bad. It wasn't because it was random. It was because he was playing 25 plus minutes every night and he was a focal point of the offense, shooting 10 to 15 times a game. That's how basketball works. Um, and I think that Obi, I'm not trying to give him an out. Like it's on, like I said with Hartenstein earlier, it's on Obi to make it work. But two things can be true at once. We're just not using him to the best of his capabilities, and that's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah. All right, let's start talking about next game. So next game is on Sunday, 1 p.m. Oh, that's interesting. At Detroit. Knicks are 9-2 in their last 11 road games. Best road team in the league, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, going on the road versus a bad team. The expectation is to win comfortably, to maintain that comfort throughout the whole game. Um, but yeah, 1 p.m. at Detroit against the 12-34 Detroit Pistons. Knicks should win this game. They should win it comfortably. I mean, the game plan should be like just come out and put your foot on their neck to start the game. Like, I really don't know what other way to put it. Like, this team they know that they're better than Detroit. Like we all know that they're better than Detroit.
Mhm.
Um, so like the game plan should be simple. Just come out and be serious. Don't play with your food, and the game should be over by the third quarter.
I will say, I like how Detroit's been playing recently.
Yeah, they've
Um,
been competitive.
Burks has been really good recently. Um, Boyan was doing well. I feel like he got hurt or something, but I think he's going to play Sunday. Um, Killian, before his suspension, was playing the best basketball of his life. Duran has pretty much locked in that center role. And Duran, I'll be honest, Duran is the type of guy that I made a prediction before the Pacers game that we would kill them, and I was always right. I'll make another prediction. We're going to be impressed by Jalen Duran when we watch this game because first of all, he's going to battle with Mitch on the inside. And second of all, um, with the type of offense the Knicks run, the center for the opposing team is put through it a lot. He's got to make decisions. And Duran's going to make some mistakes. But if they let him switch onto Brunson or quickly or RJ, I think we're going to be annoyingly impressed with how he holds up in terms of that ball defense for an 18-year-old kid. And that's the type of thing that, can make this offense, maybe look a little bit worse than it actually is. I do agree. I think we're going to win. And I think we should win. But I'm just saying, I hope this team, and I don't want the fans to, just totally sleep on Detroit because, they're going to go out there and try to. And they've got a funny thing is that people always call for other teams to like tank and stuff, but and that's what the Pistons are doing, especially with Cade out. But now you just have a bunch of guys who are like young and just gonna try their absolute hardest. Like in a weird way, the Pistons are gonna be getting better efforts with this rotation. Guys playing for their NBA careers, young guys trying to show they belong as a part of rotations. The Pistons are almost going to get better efforts now than they, maybe would have gotten if they had a more veteran team who wasn't very good, and who knew the writing was on the wall.
Yeah. What do you make of guys like Burks and like guys like that playing for, they're gonna be either traded like halfway through the season or whatever? Like how do you think that impacts like a young team like that?
I mean, it can be shaky, but I feel like Burks and Boyan, first of all, it's not their first time around the block. Like he was pretty much as good as gone from New York last season. Like everyone wanted him traded and they stuck around, but I think they're professionals. They're going to play well, and you always hear from locker rooms how much the young guys. It just seems like the NBA is a really tight knit community, and I can't imagine, especially with a coach like Dwayne Casey, who is actually pretty similar to Tibbs. But he definitely gets guys to play for him. He definitely garners respect. I think you're going to see, a hard playing team and guys who are just, out there to beat the Knicks. Not to mention it's a revenge game for Burks. And everybody believes in the revenge game.
For sure. I mean, there's no reason to not believe in the revenge game. I mean, we just saw Porzingis try to attempt to like salvage his attempt at a revenge game in the fourth quarter today.
Yeah. And you
But
and you
yeah,
for- and you forgot who's trying to get the most revenge of all. Kevin Knox. It's his time for revenge.
I mean, there was a stretch, during the part of this season where he was like, balling. So
Yeah. I
it,
think he's still a part of the rotation, right?
yeah, I think it's just like due to injury though at this
Okay.
point, or yeah, because I think Cade is out, so I think he just takes the spot in the rotation or something like that.
Let's see. They played tonight. Let's see how many minutes he played. He played 17 minutes. They were plus 10 in his minutes. He had 7, 5, and 1 on 3 or 4 shooting. Pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad.
Oh my God, we didn't even say Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel is starting for them. Oh, Duran's hurt. Okay, Duran and Stewart are hurt. Wow.
Oh wow.
How did I not know Duran was hurt? I do DFS every night. That's just so bad.
So I mean, that could be good for us if he's
Yeah.
playing versus us.
And Isaiah
Maybe even
Stewart's.
better.
Yeah. I mean, You want Noel on the court. We saw that last season. Oh my god.
Yeah, whenever he was on the court, dude was like out with his plantar fasciitis.
God, somebody's gonna like clip that, and then Noel's gonna have 8 blocks. I'm gonna look like an asshole.
JL says we haven't lost to the Pistons in a long time, so I wouldn't be surprised if they finally got one from us. Yeah, maybe. I mean, the way we've been closing out games, the way we've been playing late in games, you never know. It's always possible. But
I'd say
I like our chances.
I'll be surprised. I think that the best thing that we've learned about Tibbs is it's very rare that he lets his guys just totally nap on a team, and
Yeah.
that's why it's so like it sticks out so much when it does happen, like the end of last season when that Blazers team didn't have Dame and we blow a 25-point lead to them, and then the Thunder we blow a big lead and have some questionable decisions down the stretch. Those are the games that like Tibbs makes his career on. He doesn't let his teams be unprepared and be unmotivated. That's the best thing about it. And then like Sam said to start this, we're just better on the road. Like I don't know if we get more nervous in front of MSG or whatever, but there's just there seems to be a comfort on the road. Randall said that road trips bring the team together. That was one of my favorite Randall quotes of the whole season. It was when we were struggling and like the Knicks won a game right before a road trip started, and Randall was like the player of that game, and Breen asked him about the upcoming road trip, and Randall said that he loves road trips because it's when teams become family, and you want that for the team you root for. Like one of the most fun things about that We Here season was how together everyone was, and how everyone played for each other, everyone supported each other. So, when you see stuff like RJ giving Randall that big chest bump after Randall posterizes Gafford, and you see everyone get hyped when Quickly has the N1, you see the bench into it. Like, I don't know. It kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth when you have guys like Cam and Fournier who like Fournier has been such a good teammate. He's still always psyched on the bench, but he doesn't want to be here, and definitely Cam. And that stinks, like it's just hard as somebody rooting for their team. I actually have a question for you. Do you think we were talking about Deuce earlier? Do you think there's a chance that Tibbs just goes back to Fournier?
I'd hope not. I'd hope not. I mean, like, what is he looking for with Fournier? Like, just like someone that can hit a three maybe once in a while. I mean,
Size at the wing, so that Quickly is the true point guard, the smallest guy on that bench unit,
mm-hmm.
and one more offensive valve. So it's not
it's very
all.
busted valve.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I'll be honest, I don't know how many more of these Deuce performances Tibbs is gonna put up with, because we're learning now. I forget who it was. I forget if it was Jeremy, if it was Chris, or it was somebody. But we're learning now that Deuce is in the rotation because of the front office.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like Tibbs. I know Tibbs loves him. I know Tibbs loves his defense, but it was the front office that encouraged him to make this move. At the end of the day, Leon always says it. Tibbs does have the final say.
Mm-hmm.
And a few more games like this from Deuce, and I honestly could see him being like, all right, we're going to try Evan. We're going to go back to him off the bench and see if that's better.
I hope not. Because, like, if you put Fournier in the rotation, you can't have him playing with Hartenstein. But that's where most of his minutes are going to end up coming next to. Like, that's just a tire fire situation right there defensively. And
yep.
we don't need that. All right. I think this is a good place to, end things, as I am partially falling asleep and my voice is leaving me. Shout out to everyone. What was that?
I was just gonna say you got some TV to watch.
Hopefully, if I can stay up. But yeah, shout out to everyone that tuned in. Shout out to everyone that left a comment. Shout out to Severance and Ace Bouchard. Going at it.
Yeah, we love the
Um,
passion.
yep, we do. We'll be back on Sunday after the Knicks versus Pistons game. I'll probably be tuning into some Giants playoffs as that will probably be going on.
Let's get a prediction. What do you think's happening? Giants, Minnesota.
Man, I want Giants to get the revenge because they beat us on like some BS field goal.
Yeah.
Um, we had them dead to rights in that game. Like we would have won if that game probably went to overtime. I think, in my opinion.
Like, aren't the Giants just a better team?
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't trust the Vikings because it's like Kirk Cousins and
And
like
because they what were they? They were like 12-0 in games decided by 3 points or less or something. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna check now. Yeah. They outscored, dude. They were outscored this season. They went 13-4 and had a point differential of -3.
yeah,
That's impossible.
yeah. They got really lucky, I guess you can
Yeah.
say, especially against us with that like what was it, a 61-yard field goal? Like I think,
61.
but I hate the fact that so many people are on the Giants. Like
It's
I
so
just
fun. That's so funny that you say that, man. My friend said the same thing. I texted him this morning and I asked him, and he said, "Everyone's on the Giants. It's gonna be a letdown game."
I hate it because like it puts so much pressure on us, and like now, like if we lose, like even though we're like the underdog, we still come out looking bad in a way.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I will say, unless it's really bad, I don't think the Giants can come out looking bad. I think that first of all, I think they're clearly a year ahead of schedule.
yeah, definitely.
I think Dayball like maximized this team. Um, and like their best receiver is Darius Slayton right now.
And Isaiah
Like,
Hodgins.
and Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James. Like, yeah, Barkley's great. Um, but I feel like the most likely outcome in a Vikings win is people say, yeah, we're a couple pieces. The Giants are a couple pieces short. Let's trade for Hopkins, trade for Ayuk, and let's keep improving with the young guys.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm always gonna pick my Giants to win, even though some people are on them. I like the revenge spot. I like the underdog spot. I like the a lot of people liken this to like the first Giants run in '08. So maybe we get some of that magic again. Um, we'll see, but I will be enjoying seeing the Giants in the playoffs. Um, for the first time in what 7 years?
2016. It was it was the Packers Hail Mary season.
Yeah,
It was the God, I remember that game like it was yesterday. I'm not even a Giants fan, but the Giants completely outplayed the Packers in Lambeau. It was the Odell went to Mexico, right? And he dropped a touchdown that night. And yeah, so Odell dropped a touchdown, but still the Giants completely outplayed them in the first half. And Rodgers just throws that Hail Mary at the end of the half, and Cobb catches it in the back of the end zone. It's just like the most deflating thing ever. And then the Packers just rolled.
yeah. After that, there was like no hope within the Giants fans, at least to my knowledge. Like for me myself, I felt like, oh shit, like yeah, that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna enjoy seeing them back in the playoffs. It's gonna be good to see all these young guys get some, some burn, some playoff experience, and we'll see what happens there.
And like
Hopefully,
you trust, like, isn't it weird like how fast things change? But like I don't know about you, but like I trust Jones.
I do too. Yeah, he's
Like I
been
don't think he's
super
gonna light it
reliable.
up, but like I don't think he's gonna kill the Giants either.
Yeah, he's been super reliable. Like he just does what needs to be done, whether it be with his feet or throwing the ball. He's been super reliable. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, hopefully I can watch a Knicks win and a Giants win on Sunday.
What time is the Knicks game on Sunday?
1 p.m.
Cool.
The Giants is at 4:30, so back to back.
Sick.
But yeah, shout out to everyone that tuned in. Definitely check out everything Strickland related in the description. We got links to the site, merch, Patreon, and Twitter All great ways to support us. We are also on Instagram at thestrict.land. Check us out. Give us a like and subscribe. We're on our way to 1K subs, so all that you do helps us out a ton. Hopefully we can talk about another Knicks win on Sunday. Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.